Hi, and welcome back to the History Makers Leadership Podcast. I'm excited to be joined by Joel Wood. My name is Daniel Drewski, and we want to have a conversation as we're starting off this year, talking through innovation, talking through, and really just kind of continuing a conversation about how to move from those ideas into those practical actions and movement, right? I think every year, or there are seasons in every leader's life where they're seeking out that new thing, but the habits can be so simple and habitual, right? They're so easy to fall back into. And so, Joel, as we think through innovations, we think through how do we accomplish those new things that we're looking for when our habits lead us to constantly do those old things? How do we wrestle some of that down, man?
That's a great question. Thanks again for having me. I'm glad I'm to be here again. Man, as we are looking into a new year, right? We're at the beginning of 2025. At this point, we're like, we are in some new rhythms and we get to explore some new opportunities. But one of the enemies of exploration is going to be experience. And not that experience is bad. Obviously, we build off experience and we look at what works and what will continue to work. But I think that there's times that we can get stuck in that. And we are at the beginning of a time that many of us either have worked through a process or we feel a very clear calling on what God is leading us to in the future and where God is calling us. Whether you work in churches like I do, I'm a lead pastor. Whether you work in the marketplace, whether you're a missionary, whether you're leading a missions organization, Daniel, or whether you are a stay-at-home mom, and your opportunity to lead is the little people running around. Like that doesn't mean there has to be any lack of vision for what God can use you to do to impact the future. And so when we talk about experience, we often look at, hey, this is what we've done, this is what's worked, and this is what we should expect it to work again. But the problem is the world doesn't work that way. What used to work doesn't work anymore. In the, I think it was the mid 80s, Kodak was the most valuable photography brand in the world.
Yeah.
And recently, within the last few years, they liquidated all of their assets and sold their patents because they were in complete bankruptcy. And what happened is that they used what they experienced as their pathway to forward set in stone. Did you know that there was actually a Kodak engineer who invented the first digital camera?
That's right.
Like, seriously, it's a Kodak engineer. He invented the first digital camera. He took it to his bosses and they were like, that's neat. We're going to keep doing what we've always done.
Right.
In the meantime, other companies came along and they took digital photography. And now, I and I think you too, like we're recording this on phones, on digital cameras, digital lenses. And we're not using Kodak products. And it's because Kodak didn't learn how to be flexible and how to innovate along the way. And so regardless of if you are leading a Fortune 500 company or you're leading your family, we've got to learn that sometimes what we have done in the past won't always work for the future. And we've got to learn new things. I think family is a great example because when you raise kids in one season, you're leading your family and you've got to lead through like a toddler and going, don't touch that. That's hot. Don't hit your brother. Share. No biting. That's bad. Well, if you're looking at your high school senior going, no biting, that's bad, then you've probably missed a few steps, right? We have to change as things change. And we as leaders have to do this wherever we're leading. And we've got to look at flexibility and innovation to get us there. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I'm with you, Joel. I think the tendency for some leaders is, man, they look at that and they yearn for that, but maybe there's some obstacles to that process. Maybe they're sitting there going, hey, look, I want to see innovation. I want to see transformation, but I only have so many resources, right? How do we begin to kind of wrestle down this idea of I guess it's really prioritization, right? To identify which of these innovations do I really pour into? Because you think of the Kodak one, right? Well, they were looking at a context going, hey, we've developed this new digital camera, but there's no way that can take over. It's too complicated. It's too expensive. No one would spend that money. And the reality is that was true for a time, but it failed to acknowledge the direction that things were going. In the same way, at ILI, one of the elements we teach is culturally relevant evangelism, and understanding that as I share about Christ in different cultures and contexts, the way in which I share must adapt, but the message itself must remain the same, right? So for Kodak, the way in which they capture and share memories changes, but the fact that they're capturing and sharing memories remained the same. And so in the same way, how do we begin to identify that that prioritization? Because I've only got so much money, I've only got so much time, and the vision God's given me is sitting right here in front of me.
One of my favorite ideas about innovation and even exploration and creativity in general is that we think that creativity requires and innovation requires a lot of money. And to be clear, like, you can spend a lot of money in it, but some of the best creative solutions came about because there was a lack of money, or there was a lack of time, or there was a lack of one thing or another. And so when I talk about innovation, I talk about sometimes we innovate out of a desire, and sometimes we innovate out of a need. And what you don't want to do is have to innovate out of a need when you really needed to innovate 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that's how you become irrelevant. And we don't want to do that. And so some of it, I think it's good, right? We look at the beginning of a year of our vision. We've set our SMART goals. We're willing to receive input, whether it's additive or subtractive. Now it's time to think through, hey, what do we do that's a little different? And maybe you want to do the innovation and flexibility before you have input, or maybe you go back and forth. I mean, it's it's not set in stone. Like that's part of the flexibility. And so there's this idea that I have 3 ideas or 3 keys for innovation. And I think that if you can, I say there's 3 keys, and I think anybody can apply them, but situations change, and your situation may be different. You may interpret it different. But the first thing is exploration. You've got to explore what could be. I've got a buddy who's here in where I live in Colorado, who during the pandemic, he was looking for ways to spread the gospel and to have outreaches into the community. Well, often how he's done that in the past is he'll rent something out, or he'll do a big event where he invites people into his church, and it's kind of inside base. But all of a sudden, we're social distancing. We can't be inside. And so he, based out of need, started to explore, okay, where are the opportunities here? And when he was exploring, he kept driving by a dog park and thought, man, I see people there all the time, and people are coming and going. They can be there. It's outside. And people in Colorado have this weird love for dogs. I say that I have dogs and I love my dogs. And we have this weird thing for dogs. And so he's like, man, is there anything that I can do here? So that's number 1, exploration. The second step is unique solutions. Once you're exploring the opportunities, then you go, hey, what's a unique solution that would help me achieve my goal in this space? For my buddy Matt, what he did is brilliant, is he went, hey, it's coming up to Easter. We want to do a big outreach. We can't meet inside. What if we did something Easter at the dog park where people are? What if we did a doggy Easter egg hunt? And so they fill these little plastic eggs with dog treats, hide them all over the dog park, and then owners take their dogs to go find them. But here's the thing. They get connection points with people at the dog park. They got people to start coming to their church through a doggy Easter egg hunt. What a crazy innovative idea. It's a unique solution. But here's the thing. There may have been someone who's actually thought of that before, but never did anything about it. So you explore, you develop unique solutions, but then you have to take action. Again, it's back to the action bias. You've got to test it. And sometimes those things will be successful. Sometimes they'll be failures. Sometimes the innovation is just an innovation for you. It's not an innovation for everyone. It's already a tested innovation that you can take and apply to your situation.
Joel, I think one of the things that comes to my mind as we're talking about this, you talk about exploring. I think sometimes as leaders, we explore by looking at other people's solutions
I'm a pastor. This is what we do. Like, what is that church doing over there?
What are you guys doing over there? Right? We look at our competition, right, in the business space. We go, what is our competitor doing over there? I don't want to necessarily discount that, but I love the example that you gave, because it instead was looking at the people you were trying to serve. Right? You're looking across your community saying, how can I meet people in the space that they're already going, right? Look at Paul. He went to the Areopagus because that's where people were already going to discuss the ideas of the day. That's how he was able to point to this, idol, this object of worship to an unknown God. And he says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about this one because you don't know the true Yahweh, the true Jehovah Jireh, the true provider who made a way. And so I wonder if as Christian leaders, if we should actually be spending some of that exploration time really focusing in on and exploring, God, what does it look like for me to advance the kingdom in the space that you've called me, right? So if that's in my home, I'm going to be looking at the kingdom. I'm going to so know, love, and walk in an intimate relationship with Jesus that I know who he is. And I begin to look in my home at my children and reflect and say, this is a different way that I could go about helping them to see, savor, and serve Jesus Christ. Or maybe I'm going to look in my market, right? My market segment as a business leader. I'm going to say, how do I serve my employees, my customers, my distributors or suppliers in a Christ-like fashion, unlike my competition, right? Or again, even as a church leader, just looking in my community going, wait a second, what is the way that I can explore the world around me and these unbelievers around me and begin to serve them? Because I think we can sometimes delude ourselves into thinking we're making progress by exploring what everybody else is doing around us and trying to adapt or adopt their systems, processes, tools, solutions, when the reality is we need to know the people that God has called us to serve. We got to spend a little time exploring in that space.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent example. If I can give you kind of an idea or an example that comes to mind in the business world, right?
Yeah.
Because we both are in ministry, but we both work with a lot of people who are in the business world. Yeah. And I guess that doesn't have to be just business. It could be any, it could be ministries or churches. One of the things that I see a lot when I talk to other people is one of the goals that they frequently have is their internal culture. They want to improve their internal culture. And so people can spend a lot of money and you can bring in consultants. You can try to do the Google thing where you create this playground for people where they have cereal bars and ping pong tables and all this stuff. Right. And we're comparing ourselves to that instead of going, hey, what do people need? And one of my favorite things, and this is also a great example that innovation and flexibility doesn't require dollars. Most leaders and organizations have some level of relationship with their employees. But when they talk about culture, if they need to improve culture, a lot of time what they're saying is we need to improve relationships. What if just one day a week, instead of having a business meeting or having a lunch or doing your own thing, what if leaders of companies just started going to their break room or the place where their people congregate and with the explicit rule, hey, I'm not going to talk business. I just want to hear people. I just want to ask questions. I just want to be present. That's a free thing. And some of you go, I don't really want to do that. Okay, maybe you need to start thinking about some of those innovations. And some of you may even go, well, I don't know if my employees will like that. Well, maybe that's a problem with your culture. You need to help lean into a culture that embraces that. And that may not work for you. It may just not feasibly be something that you do. Maybe everyone in your office works in sales and you go out for lunch. But it's things like that. And it doesn't have to be these big, crazy, laser light, like earth-shattering SpaceX innovations. Sometimes it's just a small thing that you change, that you're flexible towards, that is a massive difference because you are exploring what's in front of you. You're not exploring what's out there. Now, there's times to explore what's out there.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to always be just that.
Right. Well, and I think there's something that's so critical there is even in the demonstrated exploration that you're embarking upon, it demonstrates to your team an openness to new idea, an openness to change or innovation, such that you aren't and probably shouldn't be the only source of new ideas within the organization. Rather, it should be coming from everywhere. But if you're not hearing it from others, it's probably because there's a perception that it's either unwelcome or impossible or not expected that people be thinking innovative thoughts or ideas. One of my favorite innovation concepts was actually it was either Colgate or Crest toothpaste, right? So it was a toothpaste company. They were in dire straits, and they're like, man, we've got to sell 10% more product or we're not going to make it. A janitor walks by and says, well, can I make a suggestion? They said, sure. He said, just make the mouthpiece of the toothpaste bottle 10% larger. Nobody ever measures how much toothpaste they put on their toothbrush. They just kind of squeeze it out and put it on there. And all of a sudden, everyone around the table just kind of went, okay. And they gave it a shot. And, I'm not necessarily saying that was, redemptive business practices in that context, but it showed it demonstrated openness. And I think it showed that they had a culture of openness. Otherwise, the janitor's not going to be saying that to the corporate board as they're sitting there trying to navigate this difficult problem. You know what I mean? There's got to be some openness in that corporate culture in order for them to kind of see that innovation. And I think even within our homes or within our churches, we should be open to that, right? When's the last time our children came to us with an idea of how we could celebrate Christmas in a different way, right? In America, we have a season every November that we call Thanksgiving. It's just a season of gratitude or praise. And what are some ways that we can encourage or incorporate our family into that process and allow them to innovate how we do that outreach? I think that there are opportunities within the body of Christ to really open our ears and hear. I hear this from the business community, and Joel, you can affirm or deny it. But I often hear from business leaders that they have ideas, but they don't always feel like the pastors are on board with some of those ideas, right? This is how I've heard one business leader say it. He said, Daniel, I'm always told, come join the vision, not, and come invest in the vision, not, hey, we want to invest in the vision God's given you, right? Like it's always you join us, not we join you. And I think as Christian leaders, we've got to engage in some of that. All right, I know I've lit something here, man. Talk to me.
Okay, what that is an example of a pastor who didn't allow for input into his vision. And okay, so and this is kind of thing, right? For those of you who don't know the church world, at least the Western church world, like often we as lead pastors are hired and we're told, hey, you've got to be the vision caster for our organization. Like you've got to cast the vision. And here's the thing, like I kind of would love to do that. Except when we went through our process, we talked about this in the last episode. When we went through our process, we took a year to pray through our vision, a whole year.
That's right.
And I could have sat down in a room with a whiteboard and I could have written out something that sounded great, that was quippy, that was good, and everyone would have gone, that's great. That's a great vision. But what we did instead is that we incorporated our people. We invited our people into the process.
Right.
We asked them to pray so they have a spiritual investment. And then we listened to what they had to say. In fact, our vision team, it wasn't me and it wasn't just our elders. We got a team of people from within the church and we all sat down, we looked at all this information and said, what do we see? And we really, what we did is we narrowed down on this idea of home. We're supposed to be a home for our community. And there's a very loaded phrase when we talk about home, but that wasn't me. That was inviting people in. I was part of that, but I didn't own that. I co-signed that vision for someone else. And so when you have people in the marketplace, or when you go to someone and who are going, hey, when are you going to invest in my vision? And especially in those church settings, what you're really asking for is, hey, like, I want to be a part of this, but this isn't what I would have done. Or, hey, I need a better connection here. Like you're asking me to help you, and I'm fine with that, but what can you do to help me fulfill what God has called me to? So, I mean, I think people are listening to this all over the world. You're all going to have different priorities. You're all going to have different goals. But the single thing that unifies us is this idea of kingdom work. Yeah. And so when you're looking at keeping in mind, we only have so many hours within the day. So you're looking at, hey, what do I need for other people to support my vision? How do I receive input? Maybe your opportunity is to flex some of those kingdom muscles and be an input source to somebody else as well. And then you're going to offer them things and then they're going to receive back. So our church, we were looking for a different mission strategy. We wanted something that we could incorporate into our weekly and monthly and annual and even multi-year mission plan. We wanted to help start changing this culture of missions. And so, and we've kind of just been stuck for a little bit. And we've done local missions well, but we really had a heart to really branch out into international missions. And I needed help with helping think through the strategic plan. And so I called you, Daniel. I called Daniel Druski. And I remember, so I'm sitting in a room right now and I'm on a second floor and I'm looking out this window and there's a sidewalk down there. I was pacing that sidewalk on the phone with Daniel and he's talking to me about missions and I'm getting fired up. And like, we're talking about like all the incredible things God's doing. And like, I am allowing him to input, not just to my plan, but to my heart.
Yeah.
And helping us, and here's the cool thing, helping us find innovative ways for our church, things that we've never done, that we can step into new things, that we can step into fulfilling our goals to be a Matthew 28 or an Acts 1:8 church where we're taking the name of Jesus to the nations, right? And so all of these pieces work together, right? We need input that help us be flexible. We need to innovate within our organization so we can achieve our goals. But then there's another step after this. There's actually two more steps. The next step after this is that sometimes we need to change our perspective. So let's say that we've innovated, we've flexed, we've gotten input, both additive and subtractive. We've written this plan on a whiteboard. Well, my favorite whiteboard, it's actually in that room over there. My favorite whiteboard is on wheels. And often I will sit on a couch and I'll write out this plan and I'll look at it and I'll think about it and I'll change it and I'll draw arrows and I'll erase stuff and I'll have somebody else add put and I'll, write over here what has never been done and I'll write all this stuff. But then there's a moment where there's kind of a working plan, right? I see the steps that I'm going to do to try to achieve this goal. And I will put my hands on this whiteboard and I will physically push it away from me and it will roll across the room. And I will look at that whiteboard from across the room. And I cannot tell you how many times I see things differently just from adding even physical distance to my plan. Now, obviously, it's an analogy for, hey, take some time, let it breathe, leave for the day, come back. But even physically, sometimes just looking at it from the other side of the room, we see things from a different perspective. And so when we have our plan, we've got to also learn how to change perspective to see what we've designed in a different way.
I love that. One of the best ways I've ever heard to go through that process is actually to ask yourself, what advice would you give yourself if you were the person being asked for advice on this? Right. And so the change of perspective is actually to pull back and you say, okay, if somebody outside of myself came with this, what advice would I give them? Right. And oftentimes it kind of allows us to be maybe a little more disconnected or dispassionate enough to say some of the hard things we don't want to say. Like, hey, you know what? If I were to give myself advice, it'd be actually to let that person go. It'd actually be to close down that division. It'd actually be to change. I know that is still successful right now, but actually it's a false success. Right. I heard a saying recently. I think it's from one of the Nordic countries, maybe Norway or Finland or something. But the saying was this: if you're cold and you want to warm yourself up, you can pour water on yourself, and maybe that'll warm you up for a while. But the reality is, you're going to get cold again. Yeah, like it's gonna. And so similarly, maybe that one Christmas event that you guys do every year and you've been doing it for 20 years and yeah, it still gets great attendance and all those things, but maybe it's actually killing your people. And if you step back and you give yourself advice, you kind of change that perspective for a second, you can have the freedom to be able to say that, to kind of objectively go, you know what, actually, this thing that I think is so great, or this thing that seems to others to be undeniably awesome, is actually something that we need to step away from. Really so I love that kind of change of perspective, allowing you the freedom to really speak truth into something that maybe otherwise you wouldn't.
In the last episode, we talked about King David, and when King David, all these failures and sins that he had. And I think that there's an excellent example of this when after David has sinned with Bathsheba, right? He's committed adultery, he's committed murder, he's done cover it up like a scandal, like it's bad. Nathan comes to him and he doesn't say, you've done something bad. He gives him a different perspective. He tells him a story that's a similar situation. And David is furious when he thinks it's somebody else. And then Nathan goes, you're that guy.
Mm.
and he understands the different perspective, and it changes how David responds. And so perspective change frequently, oh God, it's such a cool thing that we can use. Sometimes it's not easy, but it helps us see things in a way that will lead us forward. And then we continue to work through our strategy and plan from there. I got one more. I don't know how we are in time, but I got
I was going to say, Joel, let's try and kind of bring all these steps together, kind of summarize these things, kind of help us navigate these final steps, because we want people out there making changes, man, going about chasing after what God's called them to do. We love that they're listening, but we want to give them the freedom to go and do it. So help us wrap this, man.
Okay, so we've got vision. Right. We've got, we know where we're going. We have action bias. So we've started creating this plan. We've been innovative. Sure. We've been flexible. We've received input, and we've changed our perspective. And this is, and this, this is maybe controversial for some. This is probably the craziest thing that people think. So keep in mind, you have this analogy of a whiteboard. You've written out your plan, and you've worked through all of it. What I talk about is my secret sauce, right? The things that are really important is after you've spent all this time creating this plan, you erase the whole thing. So you're like, it's the beginning of the year. You're telling me to create a plan and then get rid of the whole plan? Yes. Erase the whole thing and start over. Okay. Here's why. What you see is that when you're forced to then recreate that plan, what happens is the things that are really valuable and really important rise to the top, and you don't have any problem writing them down again. And if everything is really important, somehow miraculously, everything shows back up. I also, I joke in the book when I talk about this, is that I've got a lot of pictures of whiteboards because I do this, but I'm also terrified I'm going to forget something. So sometimes I'll erase it and I'll rewrite the plan. I'll be like, this is a great plan. Oh, there was something I really liked. What was it? And I give myself a little out to go like, okay.
Sure.
But here's the thing. It's this weird forced prioritization. And, sometimes prioritizing is difficult. And we go, we think these are good, but what do we do first? How do we put this in place? Yeah. And you really position yourself in a place that you force the things that are most valuable to you to come out. And it's not a perfect system. That's why I take pictures of whiteboards all the time. But it is a practical step that you can take. If you write you don't have to erase your whiteboard. You just get another piece of paper, write your plan down, open your Word document, whatever it is. But I think trying to do it from memory is really the important thing, because there's a value set in it that helps you understand more about who you are. And then here's the thing, like you can rinse and repeat this. You can go through the whole process. You can continue to plan. You can go over and over. There's a point where you have to put the plan in action.
Right.
And you can have an action bias to plan, but lack an action bias to put your plan in place. You've got to do both, right? Yeah. You've got to create that plan, and you've got to do something about it. What I find when I do this is that those changing perspective and that's prioritizing the things that are important, help bring such clarity to how I can put that plan in action. And then, I'm still doing it. So at some level, I think it's a good enough process. But I really do, I believe and hear me. I know that your leaders are listening all over the world, and you may have heard something to go, yeah, that's great, but that's not my situation. Hear me when I say, wherever you are leading, wherever your goals, especially your kingdom-minded goals, especially spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can be one person. And you can still apply this to the goal of having one person come to know Jesus.
That's right.
I earnestly believe this is scalable up or down to any size organization or family or friendship or church or business. And I think that if you can apply these principles, it'll position you at the beginning of a year to at the end of the year, look back and go, man, we planned some incredible things, but we also allowed God into this space to do some incredible things through this.
Amen. Joel, I love that heart. And I love this idea of whiteboard leadership where you're starting from this position of going, okay, Lord, what have you got in front of us? Where are you calling us to move, act, work, and lead? I love your heart behind that. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to walk through some of these things with us as leaders. As we come to a close, I just want to say to each of the leaders that have been listening, God has an incredible vision and purpose for your life. God wants to see you faithfully fulfilling that purpose and calling, because that brings him glory. It helps us to find our greatest joy and satisfaction in him, and it helps to advance the kingdom so that every person in the world can see and experience the hope found in Jesus Christ alone. Hope these conversations have been inspirational, giving you some practical steps and tools. But if you're a leader who's going, I see this vision that God's calling me to, and I need some more equipping, I'm still missing some key elements. Or maybe you're a leader who simply is sitting there going, maybe you're a believer who's sitting there going, I don't even know my purpose and calling. I don't know how I fit into any of this. I want you to know that the International Leadership Institute is here to walk that journey with you. For the past 26 years, we have helped more than 400,000 leaders across more than 100 nations of the world discover the 8 core values of the most faithful Christian leaders, men and women who recognize God has given them influence in the life of others, and they're using that influence to advance the kingdom in their context. Some planting churches, others opening businesses, some starting orphanages, and others simply reaching out to their neighbor, their children, and sharing the hope of Jesus Christ. If you want to discover those 8 core values for yourself, you can go to iliteam.org, get connected in, and help learn about those ways so that as we follow Jesus, we'll begin to see the kingdom advance and that gospel accelerate to the ends of the earth. Joel, thank you for your heart. Thank you for the heart of Lighthouse Church to be a home for people there in Parker, Colorado. So thankful for your heart for ministry, brother, and the way that you are making disciples who make disciples. We love you, man. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time.